Hey, welcome to Discard. Today I'm going to talk about a few different ways that you can display your Sega Genesis games. Let's take a look. So the first idea for displaying your Sega Genesis cards in your game room or game collection is this kind of weird tea bag or coffee display. This display was actually marketed as a tea bag or coffee display or place to store your tea bags or your coffee, and it works really well for those, but it also works really well for displaying different types of cartridges in your game collection. Some of the things that make this a great display is, first of all, it's clear, it's a clear plastic. Over time, these kinds of plastics will scratch, so you kind of want to be careful with them, but the fact that it's clear allows you to see all of that artwork and at least see the cartridges when they're sitting in your collection. Another big thing about this display is that it has drawers on it. So you can take your items and you can put them in the drawers and you can close those drawers, and for the most part that's going to keep your items protected from the dust and all the other nasty stuff that's floating around in the air in your game room. Another clear pro to this is that these clear boxes have a top to them, and that allows you to take these and put them into a shelf or put them wherever, but still be able to display things on top of them. So you could put your figure collection on top of two of these, or you could put something on top and display it there as well. I just like having the option to be able to put something on top of something, because when you have a shelf and it's so large, you don't want to really leave a ton of headspace in that shelf that is just unused space. And you may have noticed that these are actually stackable. These come in packs of 2 on Amazon, but I'm sure you'll be able to buy individually these on Amazon as well. And a quick note is that these do fit 10 different cartridges in each drawer. So in total for 2 of these, you'll be able to put 20 different cartridges inside of them, and that's quite a few. It's not a huge massive collection of Genesis games, but it's more than enough for a display. And I'd say overall it has a lot of modularity to it. You can do a lot of things with this in your collection, and it should be a pretty good display idea for a Genesis cartridge. Up next is one of my favorite display ideas that I have ever found or come across since starting this channel, and that's these Macarat nail polish display shelves. I could be wrong, but I believe when I purchased these, they came in packs of 6. So you could set these all up on the shelf, and they had in the picture a display of different nail polish containers that you could put and display on these. But really what these work great for is handheld games, and in this case they work fantastic for the Sega Genesis games. Now what makes these so great is that they are small, they have a relatively thin depth to them, so they're not really coming off that wall super far distance into your limited space that you have already. And when I was looking for a shelf, I was looking for a thinner shelf that I could display a bunch of my Game Boy games on and then take up less space in my collection, and also be able to put these on the wall and have limited space between them, kind of making a big wall art of all of my games. The Sega Genesis cartridge works fantastic with these. You can put 4 different cartridges on these. A little bit of the cartridges will be sticking off the ends of these displays, but I will tell you, it doesn't really matter. It looks beautiful when it's sitting up on the wall. It's an absolutely fantastic way to display these. You could put a bunch of these up on the wall. Another great thing about these is that you can utilize them for a bunch of different cartridges. Almost any type of cartridge is going to work in this kind of small display. It just depends on how far you space these apart on your wall, that whether or not those cartridges will work here. But for the most part, these are awesome. They're a great multi-tool for a collection, and they look beautiful. One of the awesome things about Sega Genesis cartridges is that they had such beautiful artwork, such really cool hand-drawn stuff in there that you really want to see that artwork, especially if you're not playing those games currently. You can give them a new life by using them and displaying that artwork on your wall, and just making a really awesome display out of it. And another shelf type display I found when I was looking for Game Boy cartridge display ideas is this clear acrylic shelf. This shelf is made out of acrylic and has 5 different shelves on it, but it also has a cover on the front, so you can open and close this like a cabinet and still be able to see everything that's inside. One thing I think is important to note about this is that you can take this and just set it on your shelf or set it on a countertop, but also you can mount these to the wall. There's a couple holes in the back that allow for screws to go into them, and you can just mount this up onto your wall and have a really cool display that way as well. I certainly wouldn't say that this is a space-saving idea. There's certainly a lot of room in these that's not going to be taken up by the cartridges. This display holds 10 different cartridges, and there's a little bit of space between them, so you can kind of evenly put these out within the shelf. But it absolutely does look cool. It is a very cool looking shelf, And if you have a bunch of Sega Genesis games that you're proud of or are rare or they're just your favorite game that you grew up with, this is a really cool way to display those. And I know a lot of people care about the dust that's in their home getting into their cartridges or really messing those up, and this is a fantastic solution for that. You can take that cover and just close it, and that's going to keep out the majority of that dust that's in your home and keep it off of your cartridges. But it's just another really good way to look at the art that's on your cartridges and just see it in its entirety and still be able to get those cartridges whenever you need to get them to play them. I just think it's a really cool idea for a collection, and it's pretty sleek looking. And a quick little idea to display a single cartridge in your game collection is this really cool Sonic figure that has his hands out so he can hold anything from your game collection. This works really well for Sega Genesis cartridges, but you can put anything that you want inside of their hands that will fit. A bunch of different items will fit in there. Sometimes they'll cover up the Sonic's face, but for the most part you want to stick to kind of a small item from your collection. This is really great because it's kind of a multi-tool and will work for a ton of different things, including game controllers or pretty much anything. So it's just another cool idea. And one place that you might not think about looking for displays is in the cosmetics department or on Amazon looking for cosmetics displays. And this display is no different than that. It's a compact display. So there are 8 different slots in this display. This is made out of either clear acrylic or a thick clear plastic. It holds 8 different cartridges in it, and it will be holding them sideways. The fact that it holds the cartridges sideways doesn't bother me too much, especially if you're looking at this as more of an on-deck type display. When I say on-deck display, I'm talking about having a display there that you put your cartridges that you plan on playing in and keep this next to your TV or next to your Sega Genesis. I can see this fitting that purpose really well. Just having a really cool place to have those cartridges ready to rock when you want to play them on your Genesis. I use this idea quite a bit with a bunch of different things. I use it with my vinyl collection. I'll use it with my NES collection. I use it with a bunch of different types of games where I'll have an area that I kind of set up certain games that I want to play next. A little side note for this display is that it also works really well with things like business cards or stickers or pins, just as a little place to organize those things. So if you get sick of using your Sega Genesis games in here, you could certainly use it for a bunch of those kind of small knickknacks. But I definitely see this as a really cool, viable display for Sega Genesis cartridges. I like that it's clear and I can see those cartridges, even if those cartridges are on their side. It's an awesome way to just have those carts ready to rock next to your TV. So definitely look into this if that's something that you're into. And the last display, and certainly not the least display, because this is my personal favorite way of displaying a bunch of different types of carts in my collection, comes from Cinco Play Retro Gaming. Cinco Play Retro Gaming has an Etsy store where they sell a bunch of their displays. They are all 3D printed and tested and checked out by the people there. I've talked to Cinco Play a bunch of times and they're just really cool people. Absolutely love what they're into. They have their own massive game collection that they have at home, and essentially they just dig what they're doing. But of course, just being good people alone doesn't make your stand out or be more awesome than the rest. What's really cool about Cinco Play stands is that they have a little clip at the top of each tier of their display. And first of all, being a tiered display is a very important thing so that you can see the artwork on your cartridges. So a lot of times I'm looking for those tiered displays in different ways to kind of hold up those cartridges to see that artwork. But what's really cool about Cinco Play's display is that they have these little clips at the tops of each little tier. And these little clips will hook onto the boards that are inside of the cartridges. They're not destroying those boards or hurting those boards in any way. I put a lot of my own cartridges through and checked for scratches or dings or any other issues, and they've come out clean. But since those little clips will hold onto the boards at the bottom of each cartridge, it makes those displays virtually invisible in your collection, essentially making it so you have a tiered display without the actual display. These are really cool because they don't have too big of a depth and you can put them into your shelf or in front of other things and they're not going to take up that much room. This will allow you to put a bunch of different cartridges into a smaller space and really maximize the amount of things you can put in your collection or display there. But one of the cool things about these is that they are 3D printed, and 3D printing is not the easiest of processes. I've gotten a lot of items in the mail that I've just either sent back or thrown away because they have not taken time to really make sure that their process is down, or they've made a very weak item that kind of just easily breaks. But Cinco Play really has a high attention to detail. You can tell they've run through a bunch of different types of these to make sure these come out on top and are super durable. I've dropped these before, I've knocked things into them and they have not broken. I definitely don't recommend doing that, but it just shows their durability. So overall, I have to say that single play is definitely one of my favorite ways to display Genesis games. They just look awesome. I get to see the artwork. The stand is not so important, it's doing its job, but I don't get to see that stand at the forefront. It's more about the games, and that's what it's all about, is seeing that artwork, seeing those awesome games. So thanks for coming and checking out Discard today. This was our first Sega Genesis video, so if you have any other ideas for displaying them in your game room or game collection, please let me know in the comments below. I am always looking for more ideas. If you want to help out Discard past the subscription, please check out patreon.com/discard and check out all the awesome things you can get for $2 a month. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. But otherwise, have a great day and collect what you love.
Won't stop, so gonna get on the ride, twisting and turning through life. No matter how rough it gets, I'll get by. Home moves with me where I roam. It's an